All right. So we raised our $3 million round was led by Serena Williams and her venture fund, and also Aperture Venture Capital. And so those two funds have poured into us. They have access to retailers that we didn't know. So we've been getting intros to retailers in there, especially the Serena Fund. Serena does all kinds of endorsements for all kinds of retail brands. And so she has those relationships. So they're opening doors for us to just walk in. I mean, that's a beautiful intro. It's like, hey, Serena's Fund said we should talk to you guys about what you're building. So we just come in the door and do our demo. So the next 18 months, it's just, I mean, I know I'm smiling too much, guys, but it's just like I see something I've dreamed about for years. Like my dreams are coming true before my eyes.
We created this podcast with the idea that we were going to create a platform that would help entrepreneurs who maybe come from non-traditional backgrounds, help them get more exposure to their brand, their business, their mission. And so it's been a great ride.
Hello and welcome to the Underestimated Podcast. My name is Rodell Razor. I'm the CEO of X Factor Capital, and I'm joined here with my business partner, Jeremiah Captain. We're excited about the show we have today. Very, very excited about that. But before we kick off, if you guys are interested in startups, venture capital, all things entrepreneurship, investing, then this podcast is for you. Please like, subscribe, and share this with someone that is interested in those things as well. We always like to thank all of our listeners, all of our viewers, whether you found us on YouTube or Spotify, whatever that is. And also thank you to our sponsors who make all of this possible.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in as well. My name is Jeremiah Captain, VP of X Factor Capital. And our whole mission in the world is to find, fund, and fuel the overlooked and underestimated founders out here. And we have a heck of a one that's going to come on here and share her amazing story. But I'm going to let Rodell kick off because he had the pleasure of meeting her first and can share a little bit about her background and would love to learn more about what she's building in the world.
Yes. So our guest today is the founder of Lillii RNB. She is one of the 100 or few that are of Black women in America that have raised over $1 million of venture capital. Barbara Jones Brown. Barbara, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show.
Yes, of course. So I'll share a little bit of, of how we met. Our friend, mutual friend, Lillii. Jeremiah actually introduced me to Lillii. We met Lillii on a social media platform, and Lillii is someone who's a huge advocate for the community about equity and inclusion, especially in the startup ecosystem.
Yes.
Lillii does some great things. Lillii said, hey, you got to meet this wonderful founder I know, and she wants to do some great things. And I'm like, okay, let me talk. And man, from the first time we met, you were just on fire, not only about what you're building as a founder, but contributing back to the community so quickly. So many of us, and me and Jeremiah, we always use the illustration of, a lot of us, we feel like we have to climb up the ladder. And then once we get to the top of the ladder, then we'll go down and start to bring people with us. And some of us, we're right in the middle of that ladder going, hey, get on my back. Right. So exactly. You're one of those people, Barbara. So yes, please share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yes. So thank you so much, guys. And Lillii Hahn is wonderful. I also met her probably on the same social platform you guys did. And it was the same thing. I was just drawn to her and her her heart for helping underrepresented founders, especially founders of color. And so I'm just happy to be here. My company is also Lillii RNB, and it's an acronym that stands for Let's Imagine Life with Ladies in IT. So I'm very passionate about bringing women into the IT and tech field, but especially passionate about bringing Black women into tech. And so that's really something I'm a proponent for. And so that's what I do. My company is a enterprise solutions company. We work in the retail tech space, and we help retailers with their point of sale. That's that cash register, in-store software. We also have expanded to e-commerce and mobile, but we also help them reduce loss, fraud, and shrink that's occurring for their stores. And so we created a brand new product called Freeing Returns, and it basically frees the returns to the retailer's bottom line, back getting the dollars that they've lost due to shrink, loss, and fraud. And so that's what we're doing now, and just really excited about the platform, what we're building, and what we're doing and helping these retailers, especially in this economy we're going into now, where they have to keep every dollar that they can in their pockets. And so just excited about what we're doing.
Yeah, you spoke to the who, the what, and why you do it. I mean, what is a typical, retail company typically lose in that free? It's, you talked about how much money they're losing per month, per year. Do you have some numbers on that?
Oh yeah. So we normally work with what are called tier one retailers. And so a tier one retailer is a retailer that generates over $1 billion a year. And so that's the biggest of the biggest retailers. We all know them. It's the Fortune 500, Fortune 100 retailers. And so these retailers lose collectively, actually what they lost in 2020 was $425 billion just due to returns and fraud associated with returns. And so that was 2020. That number has been rising 25% every year. And CNBC just did a new report that returns will be $1 trillion issue for retailers in the upcoming years. And so the issue is getting bigger and bigger. The fraudsters are getting smarter and smarter. And so companies like ours are trying to stop that and put this money back into the retailers' pockets.
So you are not just a nice to have, you are a must have solution in the marketplace. That's great. Great to hear that.
Yeah, yes. No, I think those of us that have, any retail experience, we're all familiar, especially with laws changing state by state on what's allowed or what's not being penalized. And so where did this solution, how did you get exposed to this solution? What inspired you to go solve this problem?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think people always hear about, well, I don't know. I always hear about it. I'm kind of in the space, but there's things called hackathons, So I call it the Super Bowl of tech. This is where we get to go and show out, create a product from nothing within like 24 to 48 hours, right? So that's what my team and I did. We attended this hackathon here in Atlanta. It was hosted by WorldPay, one of the biggest processors, in the world, and the Advanced Technology Development Corporation, the ATDC, here in Atlanta. And so we went to the hackathon. We were preparing to eat pizza all weekend, drink, and, come out on Sunday with a product that we created. And so we got there and we learned that usually you get there and they give you the challenges that you're going to tackle that weekend. So we get there and like most of the challenges are around refunds and returns. And we're like, what? This is like a retail centric hackathon. Wow. We didn't know that coming in. And so we get there and I told my team, I said, I think we're going to win this thing. They're like, Barbara, come on. So we go in. Our CTO, she ends up spending the whole weekend there. She didn't even go home. Didn't take a, I'm not going to say all the stuff she didn't do, but she was there the whole weekend. And we coded up a solution that weekend that would allow people to, on their phones, be able to see a list of what they purchased from any retailer, any of the retailers they shop for, see a list of what they purchased, process the return on their phone, notify the store that they're going to be bringing it back on a certain date, come in, pass up the rest of the people who are in line for a refund, and drop their item off, and they're out the door. The return is done. And this was years ago. We kind of can see that now, but this was before all this stuff was going on like that before. So we did that over a weekend. And so when we pitched that idea, we got up and we reported on what we had done that weekend. We won the whole hackathon. Best in show, second place. And the idea for freeing returns was born at that hackathon. That's how it started.
That's incredible. And did you have retail experience before that?
We did. So I already had a system integration firm that was that I was already doing work with retailers every day as their system integrator, their SI. We were working with companies like Oracle, NCR, Aptos, and we would take that software that Oracle created, that point of sale software, and we were the ones who would integrate that software into the retailers, stations. And so we already kind of knew issues they were facing. We knew returns was a big one because we were having to integrate all these different types of solutions to help them with returns, and they were still having problems. So we knew returns was a big one. And so that's why we decided to tackle all of the returns challenges for that weekend.
Got it. Okay. And then what are some of your, do you have any notable customers that you are allowed to share?
Yeah. So we've worked with Home Depot, Pep Boys, LL Bean, Charter Global, Comcast, you can name them. We've worked with a lot of the big retailers, and we've implemented putting the point of sale systems into their stores. And now we're starting to sell back to them the Freeing Returns application. And that's the name of the application we created at that hackathon. It's called Freeing Returns.
Wow, no, that's awesome. So the freeing return market, what are people typically doing that is, allowing them to get away with so much, and now you guys are able to stop them? Is it couponing? Is it, actually, stealing stuff out of the store and bringing back? I've kind of have gotten into a couple movies over the last few years of watching. Been stuck in the pandemic. I saw the movie Queen Pin that was shot out here in Arizona. That was they millions of dollars, right?
Yeah. Millions.
That is a huge business that still, people are trying to get a pulse on.
Yeah. So it's 18 known issues. And they're creating new ones every day. There's like 18 known ways that people do this, from, okay, I'll buy it on Friday, wear it all weekend, return it. We know that one. That's wardrobing. To buying things online, and when it comes to your house, saying, oh, I never got it. So never got it. And there are people, like Instacart, or some people will actually take pictures and say, we dropped it off on the porch. But then there's video online where the Instacart driver comes back after he took the picture and takes it and runs off with it. So people can call and say, I never got it. You may have a picture of it, but when I got home, it was gone. And so the fraudsters know this. So they do it. They say they never got it. They really got it. Now they have two, and they return one. And so it's like they never bought it, or they return both and they get double their money back. So it's just all kinds of schemes. I mean, they're thinking of stuff every day. And so some of the fun is trying to keep up with them and stop it, but they're coming up with new schemes all the time.
Wow. That's interesting. You're smiling. I'm sure that on your end, you do get to, it is fun for you to say, hey, I get to get into the mind of these crooks, right? And like try to dissect what they're doing. And I'm sure the CFO at some of your clients, I'm sure they don't have that quite that big a smile. So, well, and then talk about really quick what you represent to your team. You're the CEO, you're the founder, you're team building right now. You're solving a problem that is a huge opportunity. You've had to deal with the full-time job of fundraising multiple times while still running and scaling a company. Talk to us a little bit about, your day-to-day.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be, because now, at the beginning of the year, I had 10 people working for me. Now I have 20. Wow. So I've doubled my team in months since we raised our funding. So it used to be just me. I was the only kind of like executive in the company. Everything, the buck stopped with me and started with me. And so it was just really hard because I didn't have like people to bounce ideas off of. It was kind of like, I have to think of everything. And, my team is like, what should we do, Barbara? And I tell them what to do. And so now I have a whole executive team. So I have 3 other people that I've brought on, and Chief Operations Officer, Chief Product Officer, and Chief Technology Officer. So we have 4 executives in the company now. And I really spend my time just kind of being the face of the company, speaking, going to conferences, doing all that PR work. And they're, handling the other parts of my business that I used to have to do, like operations and the tech and the strategy. And I'm like, it's just amazing. I tell people, building a business in abundance versus like struggling is just a whole different scenario. Is I see why a lot of us are not able to grow when everything is on you and you're the bottleneck. How do you move quickly? How do you keep up with everything that's going on, to where now having all these people helping me is we're just seeing so much traction because it's not all relying on me. And so, while I was doing all the fundraising, it was, I got to certain points where I just felt like, forget it. I'm just tired. I'm tired of pitching. I'm tired of talking to these investors. I'm tired of the no's. Let me just go see what I can sell and just keep doing what I've been doing. And I had to really talk myself out of that because, what I was doing wasn't working. It was just not, we were growing too slow, and I needed to put fuel on the fire. I needed capital. And so I stayed with it, and I just, I started delegating to people on my team who have now been promoted. And so I was able to really trust my team more and find those leaders that I can now, convert into these executive roles.
Yeah, developing a team is so vital. Even having a team and having a team that believes in you, believes in your vision, and you believe in them, and you believe in their vision that aligns with your
Yes.
vision is very
Yeah.
difficult. And sometimes being a very strong person, like I can see that you are, very
Yeah.
difficult to let people in to take care of your baby. You know, it's like if you're a mom and having other people carry your baby and be a part of raising your baby, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. So I'll maybe share a little bit of like the process of obviously getting to that place, knowing that you had to delegate. But
Right.
did you struggle in that with like
Oh, yeah.
releasing the power and when you're out in the field of connecting with, obviously the PR side and the fundraising side and,
Yeah.
being knowing back home that someone else is tending to your child that
Yes.
you're building, like,
Oh,
did you struggle with that?
Oh, I'm still feeling it. Just hearing you say it, it's like, oh, that's what I
you think, what
struggle
are they
with
doing in the
that.
office right now? Let me get off this podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I still struggle with that today because like you hit the nail on the head. This is my baby.
Mhm.
And I'm a mother. I have 2 daughters. So
Mhm.
I don't trust
Yeah.
my babies to just anybody. And so that was some of my challenge is I was a control freak. I just admit it.
Yeah.
I was a control freak. And I'm like, I just didn't want to give up that control. I wanted to have my hands in everything. And I started becoming the bottleneck. It's like my team would be like, we got to ask Barbara. And I was busy pitching to investors. And so it would just sit there like nothing would get done. I'm like, why didn't you guys do this? Like, Barbara, we're waiting for you. You said we're not supposed to. So I'm like, you know what? I got to stop this. I have to trust my team. I've hired
Mhm.
these people. They're full-time employees. These are not consultants. They're full-time employees. I'm paying them every other Friday. They're smart. Let them do their jobs. I don't have to
Mhm.
check in with me for everything. Let them do their jobs and see what happens. And if they mess up, just correct them and then send them back out. And so these were the conversations I was having in my head, just to remind myself is delegate, 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 because you cannot do this stuff and you're slowing the growth of your company. And once I started trusting my team and gave them that leverage, they just were like, wow, Barbara's letting us run. They ran. And now it's like, I'm like, just handle it. You guys, you don't need me. I mean, just handle it. You come back and tell me what you guys decided. And so I'm letting them run and we're growing like crazy. So,
Awesome.
yes.
Yeah, so the sum is greater than the whole, right? Many hands lift a
Yes.
heavy load, and you can't do it all by yourself, right?
Mm-mm.
So what does the next 18, 24 months look like for you guys now? Obviously, you've raised the money. Now you're about to go execute, in
Yes.
that. But what does that look like for you guys?
All right. So we raised our $3 million round was led by Serena Williams and her venture fund and also Aperture Venture Capital. And so those 2 funds have poured into us. They have access to retailers that we didn't know. So we've been getting intros to retailers in there, especially the Serena fund. Serena does all kinds of endorsements for all kinds of retail brands. And so she has those relationships. So they're opening doors for us to just walk in. I mean, that's a beautiful intro. It's like, hey, Serena's fund said we should talk to you guys about what you're building. So we just come in the door and do our demo. So the next 18 months, it's just, I mean, I know I'm smiling too much, guys, but it's just like I see something I've dreamed about for years. Like my dreams are coming true before my eyes. And I can't stop smiling because I see, huge retailers becoming companies that are using our product. Series A, which I didn't even think I could raise a seed round. Now I'm thinking about Series A. Can you believe it? So Series A raising, way more than we raised in the seed round. Customers, revenue, like tons of revenue. This company being worth, 50 to $100 million. And so, these are the things that are coming into place. I've built this dream team now of people that are subject matter experts in this retail and loss and profit optimization space. And so now, the sky's the limit for us. We are not afraid to talk to any retailer at this point. And we've also partnered with companies like Salesforce. We're an ISV partner for Salesforce. Shopify, our app is in their marketplace. Accenture, we're talking to them about getting into their the Black Founders program. And so it's like we see all these big companies that are coming in and partnering with us. We're Google for Startups, part of their Black Founders Fund. And so, I just feel like the sky's the limit in the next, 18 to 24 months. You guys are going to hear so much more about Lillii RNB and freeing returns. And, for me, I want to build a multi-billion-dollar company, a unicorn in Atlanta, one of the Black women unicorns for Atlanta. That's my goal, and that's what I'm going for.
Man, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
That is that's very inspiring, but it's also we can see it trending, right? And I think you have the performance matches the rhetoric.
Exactly.
So we really we can appreciate that. You name dropped first. I wasn't going to do it, but you dropped a pretty big name with Serena Williams as her venture fund was your guys' lead investor in this last round, I believe.
Yep.
Talk to us about that process. Whether it's, I don't know if you had a chance to meet Serena one-on-one, and that's how if you guys were playing in a tennis match against each other, and you were like, hey, throw some bag our way. Like, tell us a little bit about
Definitely
that.
not, Razor. Definitely not. Serena would kill me, So no, that's not how it happened. But Serena was actually the co-lead. I always get in trouble for this because Aperture Venture Capital co-led the round, and they make sure they correct me. Like, Barbara, Serena didn't lead the round. It was co-lead.
Hey. I know it may sound good to the consumers on that end, just because of the buzz name, because the rest of the world may not know who Aperture Fund is.
Exactly.
They're
like,
big players
get it
well.
right. Get it right. It was a co-lead. So they actually co-led the round. And so for us, I'm one of my advisors, and she's also an investor. So she became an investor in the company. But one of my advisors asked me, said, Barbara, have you ever thought about, I still laugh when I can't believe she asked me this question, but she's like, have you ever thought about pitching to Serena Williams Venture Fund? I'm like, what? She's like, would you be interested? I'm like, why would you even ask me that question? Like, of course, make the intros. And so she made the intro to Serena's venture fund. And I went through months of interviews, and I kept getting the next interview and the next interview. And I was like nervous. I'm like, man, are they gonna accept us into the portfolio or what? And so I met with all kinds of people. At one call, it was probably like 6 ladies on the call, and I was pitching, and I'm looking at the faces, and I see all these smiles. I'm like, man, we're gonna get it. And so finally, we got to the point where they said, Barbara, do you want to talk to Serena? I was like, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. And so they set up the meeting, and I got a chance to pitch to Serena herself. Now it's on Zoom because this is still kind of COVID time. Mm-hmm. And so there she is on the screen. Her daughter's running back and forth. She's like, no, go sit over here. So I'm like, oh my God, it's Serena Williams. My husband comes in. He's like, you got Serena Williams? I'm like, oh.
Hey, hold on, man. I know you pitching, but I'm gonna let you finish.
You let him pitch. So he comes in, looking in the camera. Hey, Serena. I'm like, oh. Lordy me. But he's my husband, so I had to let him get in and say hi to Serena. But anyway, she just laughed it off. But I got a chance to pitch, and as I was pitching, I mean, she was like, I didn't see a smile or anything. So I'm like, oh Lord, I'm losing it. So I was so nervous, and I was like, man, I got to win her over. And so I just looked at her and I was like, Serena, I always had this dream that I would have a Black woman celebrity to help me really brand this company. And I was thinking, like, who could it be? My husband's in entertainment. So we were thinking, maybe it'd be this person or that person. But when I heard that I was going to pitch for you, I knew it was going to be Serena Williams. And I would love for you to join the other Black women who have invested in me. Right now, I have about 70% of my investors have been Black women. And I saw this smile across her face. And I was like, yes. And so probably, I think about a few days later, they said, Barbara, you got the funding. Serena said that, we'll commit up to $2 million, whatever we want. We believe in you, whatever you're building, Serena wants to support you. And so that's what started it. And once I met them, the round closed so fast once we knew that Serena was on board.
There's a training in that for founders. Yeah. And I think that, you were probably pitching her this similar view, maybe you're pitching everyone else, and he stopped. You said, I gotta enroll her, right? And like it was like all the numbers and all that. Like she's a very intelligent woman. She's looking at this as a business opportunity, and then it was very transactional. And then you made it, made it more personal. And she's obviously not in the business just for building her own wealth. She's in it to make an impact. And so, man, that's very, very powerful. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing. I got goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. So understanding the art of the sell in the story. It's not, facts tell, but stories sell, right? You got into this pack of enrolling her in the story and the mission of having more Black women on the cap table, bringing more diversity. And obviously you're backing it up with your numbers. You didn't just sell a story with nothing behind it. It was no fluff. You actually have something something real and tangible. And you went after a strategic investor, not just because of her namesake of being Serena, but obviously her working with a bunch of retailers. And they call that in the tech world, on the other side, when you're sitting on the table, you want smart money, right? You have smart money, not just dumb money, not just money for the sake of money, strategic investment that can open some doors and really pull some levers so you guys can move further and get to that space of getting to that $1 billion valuation, of tripling your revenue once and then tripling again, then double to get to that billion, right? That's the whole plan that you're on. So really, really excited about just your ability to obviously raise money thus far. If you've done it once, that means you could do it again. And if you close one of those customers you spoke about, multiple of those customers, what's the difference of you closing all those other new retailers you have access to? You have the track record, you definitely on your way, and it's just beautiful to see it.
Yeah. And you're so right, because, you know, after I saw the smile like creep across her face, that's what I told her. I'm like, Serena, I mean, you are, you know, the sponsor for so many retailers, and that's our client. Just imagine now us coming in as a portfolio company. So you're right. I mean, she's a smart businesswoman. Of course, she definitely wants to give back, but she saw those numbers too. It's like, I do know a lot of retailers. I can get them in the door, and they have a great product. So it was just win-win. You know, you can't ask for better than that. Yeah.
It's a very unique problem that you're solving, right? That most people wouldn't even know exist.
Exactly.
And the way you're going about solving it versus traditionally a lot of, you know, people from underrepresented groups, we're trapped in the CPG market. You know, we're having a lot of products. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's so crowded here. Like, you've created your own blue ocean, right? Getting out of this bloody red ocean where everyone's just kind of fighting over. And a lot of people probably come to her with those type of products. Like, Serena, if you just back my, you know, my elbow bomb, right? You know, or this clothing line, but she already has a lot of partnerships that she can't even cross over to that. So you really have a unique product that you're bringing to her to help her diversify her portfolio with not only just a Black woman, but also the unique problem that you're solving. I think is so vital. And could you speak to that, of maybe the lack of representation of just, you know, Black founders raising significant amount of capital, but also different sectors? And we think that it's because we're just not exposed to them, right? If you don't go work for a big cap tech company in a middle management position or have a director position, how do you know what problems are existing and the friction points to go solve them? And you're able to, you know, do that through your experience, but so many other Black founders may not have had that experience to do that. So can you speak to, you know, just you breaking the mold and not going down just a traditional route that some founders get trapped in?
Yeah. And I wasn't even trying to break the mold, actually. So it's, you know, so I'm a computer science graduate, you know, and when I graduated with my degree, it was like 3 other Black people that graduated in my class. I mean, it was a huge class of people graduating, but it was 4 of us total that were getting computer science degrees from University of Texas at Austin. And so when I got into this field, I was always, you know, the only Black woman around. Like, I was most of the time, the only woman on the software development team, because I'm a computer programmer by trade, but I was always the only Black woman on that team. And so I was just looking around like, where are the other Black women? Like, why am I the only Black woman here? And so, you know, when I started pitching and trying to, you know, before I was able to raise money last year, I would be pitching. And it was the opposite. Like, they were expecting me to come in and pitch a CPG company, or, you know, she's coming in to sell hair, you know, something like that. No, you know, offense to the people that are the Black women that are doing that. It's amazing. But I was coming in pitching an enterprise SaaS company, retail tech, fraud, loss prevention. And these people looking at me like, what? They were like, there's no way she knows how to build something like this. So I was having that opposite effect from people who didn't look like me on the other side of that investor table. They're like, she can't build that. And it was like, next, they were not hearing me. So I was like, man, you know, I was really perplexed. Like, why am I not able to raise money? But I was not building that. Well, I guess they thought a business that Black women know how to build. And so, you know, fast forward to last year, where now, you know, I'm pitching to Black women. And they're like, wow, y'all remember like Zane Venture Fund, Shyla Nieves Burney. She heard me pitch, and she was like, Barbara, when you finished that pitch, I had like goosebumps all over my arms. I was like, what? I have never had an investor tell me that, first off. But for her, because every time I pitch, I have goosebumps all over my arms. So I'm like, man, this is a huge opportunity. But people weren't seeing that. So Shara was like, Barbara. So I was like, they see me. They believe I can do that because they're Black women and they're doing things that people probably never believed that they could do. So they believe me. So that was the difference, is that these women knew I could build it. And they're like, this thing is going to be huge. And that's what I needed. And so it was the opposite for me. I was just out there doing what I knew how to do. This was my background. I've been in retail for 20 plus years. I'm like an expert in this field, but people did not believe it until just recently. And the ones who did, we're all gonna, it's gonna be nice for all the people that jumped in and believed in me and invested in this company. I'm taking them to the top, and we're gonna do something great.
I love it. I love it. I love it. The thing you mentioned, and I want to circle back there because we're talking about some representation. The power that you had when you knew that you were sitting against someone that looked like you. Like you had so much more power. Not because you had power over them. It was just you felt more comfortable, you felt more confident, and they had the ability to write a check. And so we thought, obviously, it's the part of the problem that X Factor solves, looks to solve, and is aiming to solve, is more representation as check writers. And you and I have talked about this at length, how founders, they need the opportunity to pitch someone. Not their whole cap table has to be Black investors, but they need the opportunity to pitch someone who has check writing ability. So talk to us a little bit about representation in this space, in venture, in startups, and in investing.
Yeah. And people always ask me, like, Barbara, how did you raise $4 million? And I tell people, had it not been for last year and George Floyd, I mean, it's sad that it had to take something like that to just make people kind of see, what's happening. Yeah, it's like, it's sad that happened, but that's really how I was able to raise all this money. It was the George Floyd. It was, white guilt. It was people realizing that, wow, Black people are, they're being, they're underrepresented. They're not getting the same opportunities, and we need to change this. And so Black Lives Matter, all these movements were happening last year. And so people started funding Black funds, like X Factor Capital, like Zane Ventures, like Serena Williams. Serena was able to raise over 100, I think close to $110 million for her fund. Okay, so she can give money to us, but she was able to close a whole round. So people started pouring money into these Black-led funds, and I think that's how you change it. So it's not just 100 Black women who have raised money, or a few Black men. It's we have to give that money to people like X Factor Capital, to these Black funds, because they're going to give it. They're going to be able to see people like me for what we are, and not just, oh, she can't build something like that, and dismiss me because you never saw someone like me build this type of business. They saw me. And that's how you change all of this. You have to get the money into the hands of Black funds. So for me, that's what changed last year, is Black people have money to give me.
Exactly.
I could, yes.
It's very difficult to compete in a capitalistic society if you don't have access to capital. Right. Exactly. It's hard to believe in capitalism if you don't have capital. So, providing the access to capital so people can go out there and build these businesses that can really transform the world, not just this country, but it also helps, drive our economy. Right. And there's at least $2 trillion missing off the board in our economy because the Black community isn't totally invested in the way it should have been since the beginning of time, since we've showed up in this country. Exactly. And I compare it to the analogy of if we're playing on a team and only half of our team had all their equipment to go play. How are we going to win at the highest level if only, a piece of our team have all their equipment? And now we're starting to see us have more access to that equipment because we're, seeing that founders are getting money like yourself and founders are winning. So we need founders like you to win so we can show that, hey, this is a good bet. This is a good person to put money behind because they are, basically solving problems that most people didn't even know exist. There's people that are probably in our overrepresented counterparts, what I call sometimes, and they didn't even know this problem exists like that. Now you're showing that, hey, there's a real problem here. I have the experience. I have the team to go do it. Give me the money. I'm going to create the traction, and you're doing that. So, just kudos to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So talk to us a little bit about I know that you and I have talked about accelerators, the important role that they play.
Yeah.
And the amount of momentum it helped you.
Yes.
Both you had some institutional
Mhm.
accelerators that you participated in. I
Yep.
believe you had some independent ones
Yep.
that you participated in. And now I know you contribute significantly.
Yes.
A good chunk of your time is giving back to accelerators, whether
Yes.
it's
Yes.
office hours, coaching. You know, I know
Mhm.
you put together a pitch weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, what does that role play in the ecosystem and accelerators? How helpful are they for those founders that are like, man, I don't need no more coaching. I need some capital, man. Just get money in my hands. I'll do it. Right? Like, talk to us about
Yeah.
like what it really like the training that it really gave you.
Yeah. And the accelerator, I've attended 30. Okay.
All right, go.
So
How many?
30, 30
30. 30
accelerators,
accelerators.
30
$4 million
accelerators.
raise.
Yes.
30 accelerators.
30
Okay. All
accelerators.
right. 20
So
years in the industry. Okay.
yes.
Yep. All
And
right.
and they were all very important because I didn't know anything about raising capital, so I learned through some of these accelerators what is a Series A. I don't know any of this pre-seed, all this type of stuff I know now. Investors, I didn't know how to pitch.
Yeah.
I've learned through accelerators. So I love telling people to get into accelerators. I know sometimes it feels like we are so coach and everybody's trying to teach us stuff, but pick the ones you're gonna want to get in. There's so many out there. Get the ones that are going to teach you something you don't know. So I've done the big ones, Morgan Stanley's Multicultural Innovation Lab. I did that one. Google for Startups, I was in there. Pax Angels, 1863 Ventures was in. So I was in like a lot of the big ones that you kind of hear about, but I did small ones like Ascend Cities. I did OHub, Rodney Sampson. So I've done a lot of them. Miami Babson College had one. I did that one. And from all of these accelerators, I was learning different parts of my business, marketing, sales, very important because I didn't have a sales team. I was the sales team. I had to learn how to sell. I'm a computer programmer. We're introverts. I had to learn how to sell. I learned through accelerator program. And so that's why I encourage them and why I give back to them. Now that I've done these things, that I've been in so many, a lot of them are asking me to come in and like Barbara coach some of our startups, tell them what it's like to raise money. What are they going to go through? What's due diligence? They're not just going to give you money. You got to prove all the stuff you said on that deck was true. What is due diligence? What is strategic partnerships? How did you guys get to work with Salesforce? So I've been able to come back in and teach, and I just had this heart for helping other companies, especially women-led, especially Black-led, get to the point where they can go out and raise money. So for me, I knew that though these raises that I've done over the last 12 months are really the reason I was able to grow as much, is because I had money to finally build my business. And so I know the power of getting that money into more of these people's hands, underrepresented founders' hands, because we've always worked with so little. Just imagine what happens when you give us a lot. Oh my God, we're going to take it through the roof. And so you're going to get a huge return on your investment investing in us. And so I believe in accelerator programs. Join the ones that will help you get that next thing that you don't know yet, or that you need help with, or that you hadn't heard about before. Join those accelerators. They're going to take you to that next level in your learning, so that you're this, whole founder, and you're able to run every part of your business by yourself. But at least from these programs who you need to hire in case you don't want to run that by yourself. You know what that job entails. And so I encourage it. I love accelerator programs and incubator programs.
Yeah. And just hearing all that, just the space you said, 30 accelerators, right? Like you make up in numbers what I lack in skill. So the repetition, right? Repetition is the mother, sister, cousin, uncle, father, granddaddy of all perfection and skill. So you're able to master that. And then looking at just the network you start to tap into to those different accelerators, all those accelerators, people you touch base in there. Obviously, how you met, Rydell and got to X Factor was through someone who was working an accelerator or an incubator. So you were able to tap into that network, and it leads you to more people that can help you with intros to retailers, intros to investors. So it's so vital. And sometimes where people are saying like, hey, I'm out here working, I'm doing work. And it's like, yeah, but are you doing the work?
Yes.
Because it's like
Yes.
the work of what it's required to actually get to the space of raising capital versus you send a couple emails out to a couple investors, maybe you do 2 or 3 pitches, you go through one accelerator and they say, oh, nobody wants to give a Black person any money. And it's like, well, let me take you to my friend Barbara, who's done 30,
30 accelerators.
and, you know, done however many pitches she's done. She did the work, right? So really being able to understand what it really takes, that startup stomach that it takes to bring to this space. So just once again, just the tenacity is so impressive, and well, we love it and we admire it because that is what we call the X factor. You
exactly. That's the X factor. Well, one thing I will say about those 30 accelerators is you got to think about it is, you know, most of them were getting hundreds, sometimes thousands of applications, and the 10 of us that were picked, you're around 10 peers. All these 10 people are just like, or 9 people are just like you. They got picked out of thousands. So now when you're in these accelerators, you're with people that are at your level. So that's just like you said, I know pretty much most of the startups who are like really what I figure are like going to be this next group that's going to grow and scale. I know them because we've been in all these programs together. I see the same
graduating class.
Yeah, we're kind of like this next graduating class. I know we're all raising money. I know all these startups because we've been through all these programs together. And so that's some of the fun of it also is you find your tribe, you find your peers, you have people you can bounce. If you're a solo founder, you have another founder you can bounce stuff off of. Like, did you talk to these investors? Oh, I met with them last week. Make sure you tell them this. Or Barbara, can you introduce me? I get this all the time. Can you introduce me to Serena? I can't. Don't everybody ask me that because
they're gonna ask, right? If they're real founders, they're gonna always ask.
Hey, Barbara, can you introduce me to Serena?
We just
I get that all. Yeah. So I've been trying to introduce her to. I mean, they're gonna tell me, Barbara, stop sending people over in a little bit because everybody's asking me. But that's what we all do is like, can you introduce me to them too? So that's the fun of the accelerators. You get around your peers, and now you got people to bounce stuff off of, and I encourage it. That's all I can say.
And then kind of in that same breath is pitch competitions.
Yes.
You know, presenting your business. There's a lot of maybe fear. You know, of wanting your idea to get out there. Maybe some lack or some scarcity, like, oh, someone's gonna steal it, or I don't want to waste my time. Or, you know, the $1,000, the $500 isn't even worth my time to pitch. It's not respected when I win pitch competition money versus I get investment dollars. Like, talk about pitch competitions and, you know, how they're in that breath of, you know, I'm sure you've had your experience there as well.
Yeah, I won a lot of pitch competitions. I participated in a ton of pitch competitions, and their exposure. You know, most of these pitch competitions led me to more investors, or led me to a customer, or led me to people who reached out and said, Barbara, are you hiring? Because I just want to work with you guys. I want to work with you. I want to join your team. That's what has happened as people saw me pitch. The biggest pitch competition I was involved with was the $2 million pitch competition led by Steve Case, former, you know, CEO of AOL. You know, and he did a pitch competition just for Black-led founders, companies. And it was $2 million was the prize. And so I was one of the top 5 finalists in that pitch competition. And that was so much exposure because so many investment funds watched us pitch. And that's why I got a lot of people reaching out to me after that pitch. So it's exposure. You know, I used to be like, I don't want people to know what I'm doing. If your idea is that easily duplicated, you're not gonna get any money anyway. Somebody else can easily do it. So, you know, what we're doing, we can get the idea out there. These people don't know how to do it, especially the way we know how with our expertise. So we put it out there. So I got over that fear. Is it a waste of time? Sometimes I thought it was. I was like, I'm tired of pitching. Everybody's telling me, no, it hurts you. That's hurt to somebody to say your baby's ugly. I mean, that's hurt. It's hurtful. And so a lot of times,
sometimes the baby is ugly though.
Sometimes the baby is ugly. And so, you know, some of that was like, I'm an introvert. So I had to get out of my husband does, you know, he talks about this all the time is especially for people like me, I had to come into this alter ego. To where I had to really become this other person, this bubbly Barbara, not the introverted Barbara, the shy one. I had to come out of myself to pitch. So sometimes I was tired of having to put on that bubbly Barbara. I just wanted to be in a corner somewhere coding. And so I went through all those emotions you described, Razor. But at the end, the thing that kept me going is this business. I just believed in it so much. I was going to do whatever I had to do to help us succeed. And a lot of that prize money from pitch competitions, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is one of the first checks we got.
That check, come on through.
Like that one.
Hey,
That's a big old check.
Nothing like
That
the
was
first.
one of the first checks that we won. And so that pitch competition money will fund your business and is non-dilutive. You're not giving up equity. That's just money. So I encourage pitch competitions big time.
Yeah, Sade says never good as the first time. So hold on to that first check for real.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you talked about in the pitch competition, nobody wants to hear that their baby is ugly. And yes, sometimes the baby is ugly, but sometimes the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know, like someone may think your baby is ugly, but you know your baby is beautiful. You're willing to fight for your baby, and you prove that you're able to do that day in and day out. So just, you know, phenomenal story, phenomenal vision, phenomenal grit. And you talked about the nurturing yourself into the type of CEO that you are now and you need to become. That shows your level of growth, and that shows you can continue to grow. Because if you've grown from where you're at to where you are now, that means you can continue to grow into the CEO you need to become to grow and scale this company out. So that's just phenomenal, because you may not have the experience in sales, but you can learn that, you could study that and grow into that and become that. Because we need you to be that leader to grow this company and scale it out.
Exactly.
Well, as we land this, what's something that you're working on right now that you're pretty excited about?
Oh, wow. So many things, but like the top things we're working on is like I mentioned earlier, we have this partnership. We're in the Salesforce ISV program. And so we have put a version of our application in the Salesforce Commerce Cloud and the order management system. And so that's about to launch. We're so excited. We're going to be in the Salesforce marketplace, and retailers will be able to add free returns on top of their Commerce Cloud and their order management system. So that's going to happen before the end of this month. We also are out on what I call the road. We've been meeting with retailers at retail headquarters. In person is back. And so we've been pitching in person, and we have some, I can't announce them yet, but some really big names you all are going to know. We're going to be announcing soon that they are will be using the free and returns product. And then other things are happening. We're starting to are invited to speaking competitions, retail conferences, just a lot of press ever since we announced that Serena Williams was one of the co-leads of our round. So I've been asked to speak at different events. So all kinds of things are coming up where you're going to see more and more of my face and hear more about the company as we start getting into some of these conferences and these retail associations. So it's just this year we're going to finish it out with a bang, and then get ready to raise our Series A round next year. So investors, get ready. We're going to raise that Series A next year.
The road show.
The road show is about to start up January 2023.
All right. Where can people find you, Barbara? Where's the best place to find you? Social media handles, website. Give us some of your handles so that people can reach out if they want you to come speak, or they want to do a demo, something like that.
Okay. Well, on LinkedIn, that's kind of like the biggest channel for me. LinkedIn, look for Barbara Jones Brown, put in Lillii RNB Inc, and I'll come right up. And so that's the best place. Our website, www.lilliirnb.com, LILLIIRNB.com. I'm on Instagram under the Queen Coder, so that's me, the Queen Coder. So you can find me there. I'm still on Clubhouse. So I have a club there called Let's Imagine Life with Ladies in IT. We really try to help women get into the field of IT, or if you're already in the field, coach and inspire other women to get into it. And if you're a male advocate and you want to see more women on your team and not have these all male IT teams, and we have men to come on and really kind of encourage more women to get into IT. So Clubhouse is still a big space. And then, I'm also on Twitter. So that's under Lillii RNB Inc. And we also have a separate account for freeing returns. So that's where I am, all over social media. So you can find me on any of those platforms.
Right on. Barbara Jones Brown, thank you so much. Founder and CEO of Lillii RNB. You guys can find her. Thank you again, Lillii. Thank you again, Barbara, for joining us. Lillii RNB, send our thanks to your team for allowing us to borrow you for this hour.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And thank you again to all of our listeners, all of our watchers. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, share it with a friend, anyone who's interested in startups, venture capital, entrepreneurship, investing. This podcast is for them. Thank you again to our sponsors who make all the work that we do at X Factor Capital possible. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, guys. It was wonderful.